Good morning, everyone. Today I want to share with you my journey when I first landed in Australia back in 2007. The taxi took us from the airport, me and my friends, from Melbourne Airport all the way to the Graduate House of Melbourne in June 2007, 12 o'clock at night. It was a very cold night. So let's take a walk together down memory lane. So in 2007, me and two of my friends came here to sit for the ADC exam. It's an exam that you have to sit for to qualify to get registration to work as a dentist in Australia. And the taxi dropped us right there. It was around 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the night. For some reasons, we didn't read the instructions well how to access the graduate house. I think there is a way to, you have to call a number or something, and we didn't know what to do. And when they dropped us here, the taxi, and left, we were extremely cold. We were freezing. We didn't expect Melbourne to be that cold in June, because June in Egypt is summer, and here is like winter. And we were on the street here, opening our luggage, emptying our luggage, getting as much layers as we can to put on top of it on our clothes so we can warm up. And then we had to wait maybe for an hour or so just to figure out how to access this place until we managed to find the after hours phone number, and then they got us in, and we were freezing. We were freezing on that night. But you gotta understand that when you come for this kind of exams, it's like, I'll tell you what, like in Egypt, when you are getting paid in Egyptian pounds, to transfer this amount into Australian dollars and sit for the exam, it's a lot of money. For us as new graduates, Egyptian dentists, we probably could not afford that easily. So I had to borrow money from my parents, and probably it's something that, it's one exam that will change the course of your life. Because if you pass this exam, you will get registration. If you get registration, you can move to Australia and start working as a dentist. If you start working as a dentist, you will get working visa. And when you get a working visa, you can get a permanent residency, then a citizenship. And then maybe you can sponsor your parents in the future to come and live with you. You can sponsor your spouse if you're married or you have a wife back in Egypt or something. So it's one exam that can change the course of your life forever. So you're coming here 5 days, seeing patients that speak a different accent, getting examined by examiners that speak a whole different language and a different accent than your own mother language or mother tongue language. And then you're probably jet lagged because you're coming all the way from 20 hours away. And then you have to find a way to stay alert, stay awake, and then pass this exam so you can go through that. So just imagine what goes in your mind through this journey. My room where I stayed was right there on this corner. So that's where I came only 5 days before the exam. Bear in mind, a lot of dentists, when they come for this exam, sometimes they either live here or they come here like a few months before to do something called orientation courses. So where they orient them to what they're gonna say for the exam. But when I came with my friends, we did nothing of that. We just simply studied back in Egypt, and we came all the way 5 days for the exam just to sit for the exam. So that was my room there. And I remember the noise of the traffic light. You know, this noise that in Melbourne is different than Queensland, and I'm not sure why. This noise, I don't know if you can hear in the background or not. I remember I used to hear it all the time, and whenever I hear it, it takes me back to those times where I was studying on the corner there. Some memories I want to share with you as we walk down towards the Royal Dental Hospital where I did my exam is, in Egypt, something very funny about I don't know, maybe it's about Egyptians, Mediterraneans in general, even Italians share the same thing. They believe in something called the evil eye. The evil eye is simply, if you're doing something gonna happen to you that's gonna be good for you, you will probably don't want to tell too many people about it because they might envy you, and if they envy you, you might lose the things, which is something I don't really believe in much. So funnily enough is, me and my friends, we were like, when we meet at uni and talk about what you want to do, no one was mentioned to anyone that they're going to sit for the exam. Everyone was just keeping it like down, kind of like a secret in a way. But then when I went to the written exam in Egypt, I found two of my friends sitting for the exam in the same time. And we all kind of like looked at each other in a way like, whoa, oh, you're sitting the exam as well. And we all laughed. And then from there, we start to really collaborate and work together towards passing the exam. On my written exam, I remember something in Egypt back then. I had to drive for like 2 hours in traffic to get, it was like the British Council office in Cairo where you have to sit for the written exam. And you need to have your ID, your Egyptian ID to sit for the exam. And when I went there, I didn't know I didn't have the ID. It's a very weird story. And the exam is gonna start in like 20 minutes. In 20 minutes you have to walk in, you have to present the ID. I didn't know I didn't have the ID. But out of nowhere, I remember this story very well. My father walked into the British Council, just like running, basically looking for me. I was like, oh, so something really bad happened at home or something. And he's like, here's your ID. Why did you leave it at home? And then I was surprised. I just took the ID and just went to the exam and sat the exam. I passed the exam, luckily. But when I went back home to ask my father, like, what happened? It's like, he said, I was sleeping, because early in the morning, and out of nowhere, I just woke up, walked to your room, and opened your desk drawer, and I found your ID. I didn't know why I did that. It's kind of like a calling or something, and he just found the IDs and he drove all the way through traffic to just, and Cairo traffic is crazy. It's hard to really get around it. And I don't know, this story is, when I ever remembered, I don't know if you believe on things happen, weird things happen for a reason. Like when you have a dream or an idea, whether the world really conspires or universe conspires to make it happen, I'm not sure. But if you hear the story, you might believe in it as well. So me and my friends will walk here in the morning every day to go to the exams, and this walk is very, very stressful. We're not sleeping well, we're jet lagged. We're really stressed about this exam. We borrowed a lot of money and we can't afford probably to resit this exam one more time. I'll tell you a story as well. When we got the letter back in Egypt that we have to come all the way to Melbourne to see the exam, we really want to save as much money as we can. So instead of going back then, instead of going to an airline and booking tickets, you go through travel agency, but you also go through like some dodgy travel agencies that will they give you really cheap flights. With those cheap flights, so basically this agent will somehow magically find you flights that are a lot cheaper. I'm not sure how they do it actually, or how they did it back then. But the exchange of that, you will only get the ticket on the day of travel. So you won't get your, so let's say you're traveling on Friday or the 8th of June or something. Till the 8th of June, you don't know if you're flying out or not. And remember, the exam is like 5 days after, but they were so cheap, the flights, that it was so tempting to get. And till the 8th of June, we're calling this agent, this girl, I can't remember her name, we're calling her every day to ask her where are our tickets, and she doesn't answer. And we got our tickets 4 hours before the flight time. So 4 p.m., you're flying or something, we got the tickets. She drove her car to our houses and gave us the tickets, each one, so like all physical tickets back then, not like by email or something like that. And it's like, we got our tickets around 1 p.m. or something, and we drove all the way to the airport to come to the exams. So that added a bit of stress, saved a lot of money, but I mean, if I go back in time, I would never have done it this way again, ever. One story I remember as well is, as I mentioned earlier, when you come into this kind of exams from like a place like Egypt, you're borrowing a lot of money that you can afford to pay back easily if you haven't passed the exam. I remember I used to work for an employer, and his name was Dr. Amr. He was an orthodontist, probably one of the best orthodontists in the Middle East. I was working for him, and maybe I was one of his best employees. I mean, we had a really good relationship, and that also shows you when you work for a good employer how it can impact on you in a way. I remember I was sitting down with him. We were going to work or something, and I was telling him, look, my exam next week, I'm really scared, I might fail, and if I fail, I don't think my parents will pay me again. It's gonna be hard to get this money to see the exam again. It's just, I'm really, really stressed out. And I remember his words was really something I will never forget. He said, look, although he needed me to stay and work for him, but he said, look, if you don't, I'm sure you will pass. I'm 100% sure you'll pass, but if you don't pass, I will pay you to sit the exam again. He said, I will pay you for the exam to redo it again until you pass. And that gave me a little bit of, it was very generous of him, but it gave me a bit of reassurance as well, probably took a lot of the stress that I had away. And yeah, it's just something I would never forget, and I will always be grateful for that opportunity that he was willing to be so generous with me. And we're talking about a lot of Egyptian money back then to do this kind of things. Sorry guys, I had to pause the video because there is a big construction. They're building a very large building on this side there. So I paused and I played some music during the walkthrough. So this KFC there was the first meal we had the next day, when we start our day for the next day, when we landed in Melbourne. I remember my first meal was right there. So anyway, we turned left towards the Royal Dental Hospital, and you can see the Melbourne trams here. So Yeah, we'll be doing this walk every day to go to have our exams in that building there. And this is one of the most stressful walks I have ever had to do in my life every day. One of the things that we struggled with a lot, and in this exam process, a lot of people fail the first exam, which is the English exam, is purely because of the accent. Some of the accents of patients, it was really hard to understand initially. So patient is speaking and explaining things, and we're trying to really pick up what actually they're talking about. And I remember in the Graduate House, there was one, I don't know, he's maybe more like the handyman working in the Graduate House. We needed him to come and fix something, and we could not understand a word. He come, I think, from a deep area like country, Victoria or something, and it was very, very hard to understand. So we walked through this way every morning, cross the road on that crossing to go to sit for our exams. So it was 5 days, and there were some written questions, multiple choice questions, and there were like 1 day of periodontal treatments, 1 day of doing, I don't know, like cavity preparations or crown preparations on models, 1 day of surgical day, like you pretend you're extracting a tooth. You don't actually extract it, they just want to see you how you stand up and hold the forceps on the patient. But because there's not enough patients for everyone to do surgery, they just see how you are doing, then they get the next dentist to hold the forceps as well and pretend on a patient that they're extracting as well. And how you use the local anesthetic and how you cap the needle and recap it, like just really small things that they focus on. And when you're nervous, when you're stressed, you can easily just do a lot of errors and mistakes, but luckily it was okay. Actually, it looks different. I don't remember this much, but we'll have a look together when we walk there. One thing I do remember as well, on the 5th day or the last day, I thought I failed the whole exam because there's one patient I was taking history for some periodontal treatment or gum treatment. And for this patient, I asked the question, "Are you a smoker?" And they said yes. And I wrote everything in the history. Then the examiner, when they were doing the exam and asking me, they asked the question like, "Did you ask the patient how many cigarettes they smoke per day?" And I said, "No, I didn't. I forgot." And she gave me a lot of hard time. Like, "Oh, he could be smoking 1 cigarette or 20 cigarettes a day. You need to know this information. How he didn't answer this question." And I honestly thought I failed the exam. And she asked me, like, "Why didn't you ask the patient?" I said, "Look, it's been 5 days. I'm jet-lagged. I haven't slept for 5 days. I'm very stressed out. My life is depending on this exam, and it's only the only thing I forgot in the last 5 days. So I'm really, really sorry. I would have done it differently if in a different situation, of course, if I'm seeing a real patient in practice." And maybe, and I still thought I failed. For 5 days after the exam, I was waiting for the results, and I thought I failed that exam. But maybe she used her common sense and felt bad for me and passed me. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's one of the worst things I had to go through. It's just waiting for those results. And mind you, there were like 3 of us, 3 friends together, and we decided that I think you spend like 5 or 6 days after the exam in the Graduate House just waiting for the results to be posted to you. That doesn't come like via email or anything, just get through postage. And every day we decided that if we get the results, everyone will go to the room and open their envelope to check the results. And then after half an hour, we all meet downstairs in the park in front of the Graduate House. And whoever is not there hasn't passed the exam, and we're not gonna bother them. We're gonna leave them in the room and go check on them later. And I remember I opened my envelope and like pass, went downstairs the park and waited. Then one of my friends came and he said he partially passed, so he failed 1 module, and the 3rd one did not come down, and he sadly didn't pass the exam. He failed the exam. And we all sat down together in the park. The 2 of us think, okay, shall we go to his room or not yet? We just waited and waited and waited. Eventually we had to go, and yeah, he was very, very sad, very upset. He passed later on, and he's working in Australia now. They both work in very successful dentists in Perth. But I remember that was the 3 of us, we had to go together, me passing the whole exam, 1 partially passed and 1 didn't pass. And we just have to somehow balance the emotions between the 3 of us, and it was a lot of mixed emotions, sadness, happiness. Even the one who didn't pass was very happy for us, genuinely happy for us, and we felt sorry for him and we tried to cheer him up. I mean, it's some memories probably I still remember, I would never forget as well. I hope you find this video inspirational somehow or entertaining somehow. If you're going through the journey of immigrating to Australia and going through the exams, hopefully it gives you a little bit of inspiration. And if you want to hear more of my videos, make sure you like and share this with your friends and colleagues, and subscribe to my channel and turn notifications on, and you'll be notified when more videos are released. Thank you so much for following me in this journey, and it means a lot to me that you listen to my video.